Good afternoon, everyone. EagleX from ATX EagleX Gaming here today, and I have our Marketwatch for August 12th. Before we get started, I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. If you think I've earned your subscription and you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me and lets me know I'm heading in the right direction for content, and I'm making stuff that you guys really enjoy. In addition to that, I want to give a quick self-promote for my weekly webcam locals. I try to every week run a webcam event where I give away a booster box to whoever wins the event. So if you guys think you have what it takes, go ahead and join the Discord down below for your chance to win these booster boxes and these weekly webcam locals. Now to get started with the Marketwatch itself, I like to start with sealed products because it shows where product and singles are trending. And one thing I really want to point out here, 1.0, Double Diamond, and BT9 tend to be the three most expensive boosters as of lately. BT9 because you have your latest staples, you have actually high dollar rares and uncommons. Double Diamond for the Ghost Omni chase. In addition, the secrets and alt arts are actually really solid. And then 1.0 because of the staples it has. Nothing too shocking about the lower end here. This Classic Collection is one of the probably worst sets we've had still in this entire game. I'll cover the sets a bit more in depth here shortly. First, let's talk about some trophy cards, some GenCon cards. If you guys don't know, the closest thing we've had to compare to the GenCon cards from last year was the Grand Prix with the Old Force line. This year we have the Alphamon line with Digimon as the participant card with the Lightning Joust. So if we look and compare these two over here, we can see the Vmons. They didn't see a whole lot of play, but they are sitting around like the $13, $15 range when they've been selling for like $18 to $20 previously. So showing that Gilmon's at roughly $20, $25, I think for his price it's very fair. And the fact that he's a promo that has a niche reprinting now, and honestly it's a lot better art, in my opinion, I can see this holding its price for the long run. Lightning Joust being at $7, comparing it to Ray of Victory is really hard because Ray of Victory didn't see play at all. In fact, Lightning Joust is significantly better here. It's played in Ancient Grey decks. If you guys haven't seen Mario's video, he runs as a 2-of in his list. You can run it in Gabu Bond with the dual Tamer, so they're blue-red if you want. Those are just some thoughts for places it can fit, but it will see more play in the long run compared to the blue option. Then we have the Growlmon, War Growlmon, Gallantmon. These being for, I think it's like top 64, top 32, and top 8. These are just going to be high dollar trophy cards as there's very few in printing. And I don't think any of them really see a lot of play. Unless you play like Gallantmon Tribal, the Growlmon would see some play, the War Growl maybe. And then the Gallantmon, I think he's kind of iffy even in his own deck. But then we look at the Old Force lines and we see Digimon, which is a secret normally. Doesn't see a lot of play, he still holds $60. Arrow Vidro at $125, and the Old Force being the hard one to find, and honestly the best art at $5K for the low. Anyways, those are the trophy cards I really want to discuss. Now the Ultimate Cup trophy cards though. We're seeing these cards are dropping really fast. The Demi Vs, if you guys don't have them, this is your time to scoop them for sure, as they are holding like a fraction of their value they originally had, and there's more coming, so you might see them dip a bit more, but Imperial is still super relevant. And then we see the XVs, the Vmons, the Pyildramons, all being within an obtainable range. Pyildramon does have another alt art coming out, so depending on what your preference is for the alt art, you may or may not want this one compared to the new regional ones coming out. Now we're going to dive into these sets a little bit more to explain their prices. Like $120, $112, $115, whatever you want to say for the Double Diamond box. Those Omni has been bought up and he is spiked crazy, roughly $2,000 now. Of course, he hasn't had a sold listing at $2,000. He's just the cheapest available at $2,000. The last few listings being sold at roughly $1,000 each though. This card is going to be pretty hard to find readily available. and you will be paying a pretty penny for this card, regardless of the market price and TCG low price. The BL Star Alt Arts are the next thing high up on this list, being roughly $80 a pop. It is a beautiful 4-of secret you want to have in your BL Star deck if you go for max rarity. But then we also have lots of other high dollar cards like the Impmon, you have the Alphamon, you got your Alt Art Sisters, which people are getting ready for the Jesmon starter deck, so if you don't have them, it may be worth getting, especially if you anticipate playing the deck. You have your regular BL Star, you got your Alphamon, and you have lots of solid Alt Arts that maintain some type of value. It's nothing crazy, but they're at least $10, and there's very few that just tank and aren't worth much at all. But you also have your TK Kari dual Tamer. I can see the Izzy Joe dual Tamer going up at some point in the future when the meta's more fit for it. But like the high-end rolls are worth a lot more in this set compared to other sets, so obviously it will maintain a lot more value. And BT9 is going to be the probably more surprising that it's holding up so much value. If you guys hear her jingling in the background, it's the cat's new collar, and she is jumping all up over me. I don't have my camera on right now. I apologize about that, but you guys would love to see this. Anyways, so we have our secrets of Death X and Oriuken being the chases of BT9. And that's really the reason why this box price has been holding so strong. And if you guys remember a long time ago when I was telling you about Death X being a sought-after card, you can see in the Japan singles market, the alt art is $100, give or take, if you convert from yen to US dollar. And the regular secret is like $60, give or take. So I think we still have room for these cards to grow with how much play they will see in this next set as a way to punish Crossheart for overextending and dropping a bunch of Tamers on board. But the Oriuken will still see play too in the future. Alphamon is not a deck that dies off that easily. And then not to mention, like, you have a bunch of relevant alt arts for decks that you can play in the current format. And then talk about pre-release, I haven't talked about these in a while. But if you look at some of these pre-release cards, you can see the Alphamon ones are the ones that see the highest dollar, as is one of the most contended and strongest tier 1 decks right now. The X antibody option, though, being universal in any X antibody deck, $45, it's crazy. But this card does see play in so many decks, and that's mainly the reason why it's justified at a higher price, similar to Cool Boy being like a 3-of in lots of X antibody decks. And then one I do want to point out here, the Angelomon X antibody. It's a waifu card, guys. And if you haven't seen this one, the foiling's kind of layered, and it's something I have a place up. I think it's a beautiful art. Not to mention, I think it's a solid card that will see play at some point. So that's really the main things for pre-release stamps. If you see high dollar, it's because it's the max rarity and there's no alt art of the card like the Kakuomon, like the Angelomon, like the Guilmon, the Dorumon, Cool Boy, Dexter, X-Ante. Like, they just don't have a alt art equivalent. Anyways, moving on to the next part. I want to talk about Memory Boost. These cards are staple 4-ofs, guys. If you haven't been playing with Memory Boost, you're probably not playing an OTK deck, if I had to guess. But we see like black and red and blue Memory Boosts all holding the roughly $3 range. But then we see all the others kind of being like roughly 50 cents to $1 because they aren't really needed for their colors. Besides green, it's an OTK style deck. It's just not been performing as strong as people were expecting. So now let's talk about some decks and cards you may be looking out for. So first I want to talk about Wargray X. Wargray X, this is like a cookie cutter build. I wouldn't say it's the best build in the world, but it's a way to get started. A key card being for the promo Alturas, the BT1 Wargray, the Omnimon X antibody, and I like Blitz Omni in this deck. I think it makes the deck super strong, as you can combo a Blitz Omnimon X antibody option to go into Omnimon X. You don't get to win the attacking, but you do get a giant stack that can negate a bunch of attacks. So first, the promo Alturas. You need it as a 4-of. There's no way to get around it. Like, this card is so strong. Being treated as a Metal Greymon when he's out in the active, when digivolving to pop memory blockers. Super powerful, so you can go into your Greymon X antibody and cleave a bunch of damage while getting your memory back. And not to mention, it has protection on its inheritable. And we're going to talk about War Greys. There's been a few builds going around with the yellow War Greymon, but the main one you see used is the BT1 War Grey, as it gains Security Attack +1 when digivolving and negates all options you check in security. It's a super powerful card, and it does have a small reprint coming, but it's as a box topper, so I don't expect it to drop a whole lot, but I do expect a small drop in the near future. Then we got these Blitz Omnimons. They are the way to close out game, and like I mentioned, if you have the X antibody option, you attack with Blitz Omni, you can then digivolve into the Omnimon X to start negating attacks that your opponent has on their follow-up turn. So just keep in mind, these are staple cards to close out games in multiple decks, in Ancient Grey, and Were Garuru, and War Greymon, and Gaiomon even. So just cards that I recommend looking at. Next we have Alphamon. This is another cookie cutter list. I can't always say these are like the best cookie cutter lists, but they're a quick way to get an idea of what the deck runs. And if you guys remember, a long time ago, I told you these Dorumon babies, don't sell them at the dollar price. If you looked at the Japan market, they were a solid $5 card in this format, and now they're roughly $4. This is the time I would start moving your Dorumons if you have extras. And then similar point, Oriyamon being necessary to restand with Oriken, or the Alphamon level 6 if you choose to use that. His price has definitely been driving up as he is used a lot more. So if you bought him when I recommended the $2 to $3 range, you've already got a great cash out, and we can see some sales have even been in the $10 range for this card. It's probably because it was convenient to buy all the cards in the card at once, but regardless, that's why you can see weird prices like that. Then we got the Alphamons. The Secret's not seeing nearly as much play as the new rare, which is why the alt art rare is holding such a high dollar. But the Secret is necessary regardless of the build. And I'll be honest, guys, this art is beautiful for the Oriken Secret. Like, if I had a choice, this would be the one I run. And it's a very strong card overall, and will probably see play in the long run in the future until X Antibody is no more in relevancy to the format. Next, I want to talk about Garuru. This is a deck that we've been seeing top a lot consistently. The main build that we see going around is builds with Davises and Cool Boys for extra consistency. They want to hit all their cards. They have memory boost to find the missing pieces they need. So I want to talk about Davis. He's been seeing in counts of like 2 to 3 ofs. And this card, it won't go down anytime soon. If you need the card for the deck, make sure you have your copies. If you don't plan on playing the deck, I would probably move them as the reprint is coming out relatively soonish. I can't guarantee you the price will tank entirely, as he is a high demand card still, but just be aware of a reprint coming. Next we have the Garuru and Were Garuru promos. The Garuru is not a once per turn for the when attacking draw trigger. So this is very comparable to Stingmon from the BT8 set. However, the idea is you will OTK combo your opponent, and this card is a great way to be consistent in drawing the cards you need. So whether that is the level 5 promo or if it's the X antibodies. And then this card being really strong as you get the restand, you get Security Attack +1, and you're able to basically OTK your opponent from this card alone. This is a necessary 4 of card in that deck. And then talk about the Melgas. The most popular Melga you will see is the EX1 Melga, and his price has settled a lot better at like the $2 range compared to the $5.6 it was a few weeks ago. And the X Anti Melga, which has a beautiful alt art, but this is like your boss monster top end. Gives you a blocker, it bounces stuff on your opponent's side. You'll occasionally see the BT1 Melga ran if you run the old Garuru that lets you restand, but it's not nearly as popular. And our last deck to talk about, Green OTK, did not start out super strong, but this deck has been starting to perform a lot better here. As we saw, it took 25% of the online GenCon regional spots, and it was best of 3 format. One thing that was super staple, you saw Mimi's in counts of 2 to 3 of. Another thing you saw was Terriermon memory blockers in counts of 3 to 4 of. Every build ran 3 to 4 of these because it is a way to slow down your opponents that use memory gain effects. It slows down Alphamon a lot until they go into the Dexterity grade to try popping one, but if you have 2 down, they typically can't deal with both of them. So this is just a strong card overall for the format. Next, Grand Quagmon. Everyone was ready for this card to spike, and he had his spike at the $13 range, but now everyone is dumping them. You got Pro Play Games dumping 50 copies, Exile Trading Cards dropping 22 copies, and you see a lot of high counts being dropped because everyone's trying to cash out this investment that they were ready for, but a lot of people were prepared for this card to spike. So congrats if you move them all. If you still have them, it's going to be rough to get rid of them with how many are floating in the market. And the grandest, super cheap SR. I'm surprised he's as cheap as he is, being in the $1 range for the regular art. And to wrap up our Marketwatch, I want to talk about some of the Tamer Party cards. These cards are oddly hard to find. It's not the fact that they are printed nichely, it's just the fact they're distributed nichely. So like every store should be getting a set of these. Not Tamer Evolutions, but the Tamer Battle cards. So when I'm talking about those, I'm talking like Tamer Party Promo, Tamer Party Volume 3, Tamer Party Volume 4, I think is, yeah, it's the Alphamon set. Like, those should be more accessible, but for whatever reason, they seem to be harder to find and hold a higher dollar price because of that. So if you have any of these, it's not a bad idea to move them. Like I said, the arts are really cool, and people that want them will pay money for them, just because it is what they need to max rarity, whatever deck they need, or for their collection. But thankfully, Tamer Battle Pack or Tamer Party Pack 1 did get a nice reprint from the TP5 kit. Well guys, that being said, that's my Market Watch for today. If you guys enjoy, let me know in the comments down below. With that being said, take care y'all.